I have with me today a guest who's going to discuss all this guidance, all these laws, all these proposed laws, and we're going to answer your questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. I'll take you off of mute and let you ask the question. Hold on one second. I do have somebody who raised their hand. Mike, you have a question? No, he doesn't. All right. So here's what we're going to do is I'm now going to introduce you Ed Lyon, who you see in front of you here on the webinar. Owns Tax Coach Software. Ed's background is he went to a small little school in upstate New York called Hamilton College. Had some good times there and decided he was going to become a lawyer. So he went back to his hometown of Cincinnati and graduated at the University of Cincinnati. After several years of, I've known Ed now since 1996.
96.
In 96, we both had little kids, little bambinos at home, and Ed and I used to try to escape, and we'd have to go to a happy hour to talk business every Friday or every other Friday, and it evolved to, both of us found our adult supervision. Ed's was Keith Vandestat, one of our first clients, and was our first client with this solution back in 2000, and my wife. And they got us focused, and we started this solution. Ed's taken a different path with Tax Coach Software. Ed's documents are used. So with that, Ed, you have the floor.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. And it really is amazing to see what has happened since we sat down really about 15 years ago to try and help employers save money on employee benefits. What I've always appreciated about you, Tom, is that you take a proactive approach. At Tax Coach Software, we want our members to be able to go out to their clients and say, here's an idea that I think will save you money. In health insurance, there's very little proactive planning that's done. Typically, an agent at the end of the year will say, here's your good news letter. Your premium's going up 32%, Mr. Employer. Let's look at a spreadsheet. Let's see if we can tinker around at the edges, maybe raise some deductibles, cut some benefits, look at a different carrier and see if we can get you slightly lower insurance rates. But, Tom, your approach was different. Your approach was not just selling insurance. Your approach was employers have an obligation, they have a desire to provide benefits to their employees. And here at ClaimLinx, we want to help employers provide benefits, and group insurance might be part of that solution. But we decide on the benefits, and then we decide on how we finance those benefits. Over the last 15 years, we found some strategies that really do help employers lower the cost of employee benefits. But there's a big new player on the scene. His name is Obamacare. So what I want to do here is I actually want to back up, and I want to talk about a little history which will lay a foundation for understanding what I think most of you will find is a pretty simple choice when it all comes down to it. So it starts out, the earth was formed, the earth cooled, dinosaurs roamed the earth, and a great big comet hit the earth and killed off the dinosaurs. Now, you think that I'm being facetious here, but there's a purpose to it. We're actually going to come back to those dinosaurs. Let's fast forward to World War II, when employers domestically wanted to be able to attract new employees. There was a problem, though. There was a war going on, and all the able-bodied men and a lot of the able-bodied women were involved in the war effort. It was hard to recruit employees. The government put wage controls in effect so that employers couldn't raise wages to attract employees. Well, Tom, the employers weren't stupid. They were clever. They found a new way to attract employees. And what was it? Benefits, exactly. We will give employees benefits. And Congress decided that those benefits would not be taxable. And in 1954, Congress passed Section 105 of the Internal Revenue Code, which said that benefits would be deductible to employers and not taxable to employees. And that is the fundamental rule of employee benefits ever since, non-taxable employee benefits. Over the years, health insurance for employees, health benefits have become more and more expensive. And Congress, through the tax code, has decided to help employers and employees bear this expense by making it non-taxable. Over time, tax-free employee benefits have become the #1 tax expenditure in the code. Now, healthcare costs suddenly started rising faster and faster, especially in the 1990s and in the first decade of the 2000s. And that's when ClaimLinx came along, trying to find ways to make health benefits less expensive. And the core of the ClaimLinx strategy has always been to raise the deductible on health insurance, cut out the health insurance company middleman, and use a Section 105 medical expense reimbursement plan to make up the difference between the old benefits they were getting under a full service health insurance policy and the new benefits under a higher deductible. See, here's the thing. Group health insurance, much to many people's surprise, has always been really expensive, more expensive than individual health insurance. Companies that sell group health insurance would love for you to believe that they are part of the solution, trying to keep down healthcare premiums. But make no mistake about it, they are not part of the solution. They are part of the problem. And health insurance became expensive enough, uninsured levels became high enough that a president named Barack Obama decided he wanted to do something about it. And in 2009, another comet hit the Earth. You remember I said 5 minutes ago, the Earth cooled, dinosaurs roamed the Earth, a comet hit the Earth, and it wiped out the dinosaurs. I told you I'd be coming back to them, and here it is. Obamacare is another comet hitting the Earth. Why? Because Obamacare gave employees another way to save on health care. And those were exchanges with individual insurance and some pretty valuable subsidies. And Tom, who are the dinosaurs this time? Are they the brontosauruses and the apatosauruses and the triceratopses walking the Earth?
No, we'd call them group health agents.
Group health insurance companies and group health agents are the dinosaurs roaming the Earth. Again, they are not part of the solution. They are part of the problem. They are wedded to the old ways. They are holding on to a product that is becoming increasingly unaffordable for employers when there is a perfectly good solution available, and that is individual health insurance. And Tom, you've been working with employers replacing group health insurance with individual health insurance, supplementing those individual health insurance policies with wraparound medical expense reimbursement plans. You've been doing this for a decade now, and you've been saving clients a ton of money.
Yes, I have.
That strategy works. It has always been unpopular with group health insurance agents. I certainly understand that. You are competing with their way of doing business. Here's the problem, though, and here's why we're having this webinar today.
Let me pull this up here. Here is this new release that came out in regards to the IRS, in case you're not looking at the screen. And it's basically...
Who wrote this? Who wrote what's on the screen now?
This was sent out from the IRS. It was the notice that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're extending the 2013-54 that came out on September 13th of 2013 transitional relief, where they're saying that you could potentially be fined up to $100 a day.
Ooh, that's scary, Tom. That's scary.
I'm scared. Yeah, it is kind of scary.
$100 per day per employee.
Yes,
It can put me out of business, right?
that's what
Well,
we're hearing.
that's one of those misconceptions that people are talking about because, of course, it's not going to happen to anybody. It's not something that anybody needs to be afraid of, but it is something that the dinosaurs want us to be afraid of.
Correct.
So let's go ahead.
Let's look at the reality here. What would happen if the IRS audited somebody on their group benefit plan?
We'll get there in a sec. Let's continue with the story. So we have the traditional strategy for helping afford benefits, which is the tax break. Then we have a new strategy, which is the exchanges. But we have kind of a hybrid. We have a lot of employers who have looked at group health insurance and said, you know what? When I look at group health insurance versus individual health insurance is a lot less expensive because the health insurance companies could underwrite applicants. They didn't have to accept everyone. So if you were in good health, if you could get through the underwriting process, your insurance was going to be a lot cheaper. So you had employers saying, let's move away from group health insurance to individual health insurance, and the problem there was that some employees might not qualify for individual health insurance, and that kept a lot of employers from going with the individual strategy. There were stopgap measures. There were state high-risk pools. It was still a better choice for most companies to get rid of group health insurance, put their employees on individual, even if a couple of employees had to go to the high-risk pool. It was still less expensive for employers. Then Obamacare came along and said, new rules for health insurance. You can't turn down anyone for pre-existing conditions, which was a great consumer-friendly rule. And another new Obamacare rule that we'll get to, you cannot limit the amount of benefit payable under the policy. You cannot have an annual limit on the benefit payable. So employers said, let's look here. Why don't we get rid of group health insurance entirely? And instead of paying for group health insurance, we'll use Section 105 to reimburse employees for the cost of going out and buying their own individual health insurance. Great idea, right? I mean, you've been doing it for years now, Tom. You know that it saves employers money.
Yes, it does.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem that the IRS wanted to prevent. And they issued IRS Notice 2013-54 back in September of 2013. This was the original guidance letter that first scared people. They said, you know what? Now we've got two different ways you can save money. You've got the tax break or the subsidy on the exchange. But you know what? We don't want people being greedy. We don't want people double dipping. So you know what? We're going to issue this guidance notice, and we're going to say you can't do both. You can't use a Section 105 plan to use pre-tax dollars to buy subsidized insurance on the exchange. That's the fundamental point that the IRS has attempted to make through the guidance notice in 2013, the proposed regulations that were issued in December of 2013, the guidance letter in 2014, and now most recently the guidance letter in February of 2015. That's really what we're looking to do. And if
the proposed law.
And the proposed law.
Yeah.
And if an employer breaks that rule, if an employer gets greedy and double dips, if you have here's the other issue. We talked about how a plan can have no annual limits. The IRS said, if you set up a 105 plan, if you set up a medical expense reimbursement plan for your employees to go out and buy individual insurance, that is a health benefit plan. That's
Correct.
A qualified plan. And since it's a qualified plan, it must meet the no annual limits rule. And a lot of those employer reimbursement plans, you know, if you say we're going to reimburse you up to $500 a month or up to $1,000 a month for your health insurance, that doesn't meet the no annual limits requirement because there is an annual limit on the benefit. And if you have a plan that does not comply, here's where it gets really scary. We should be having this conversation on Halloween, I think. Here's where it gets really scary. If you offer your employees a plan, if you are subject to these requirements, the Obamacare requirements, and you offer your employees a plan that does not meet these requirements, there is an excise tax due of $100 up to $100 per day per employee. And that's the scary part, and someone who sees their group health insurance business slipping away can be very tempted to go around and tell their employers, oh, if you go with individual insurance, it's illegal and you'll end up paying $100 per employee per day. And that would be pretty scary if it were true.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So
it's not.
That's not true?
That is not true. That is
so
not.
Are you saying they're lying?
Well, I would call it a lie.
Wow.
Anyone who tells you that you will pay $100 per day per employee is flat out lying. Now, they may be lying because they don't know the truth. It may be lying out of ignorance, or it may be lying out of dishonesty. I'm not sure which one is the worst. But let's look at that $100 per day per employee excise tax. It is an excise tax. But there are a couple of things that the Chicken Littles will not tell you.
And I pulled that up on the screen. I'm showing in the case of failures which are due to reasonable cause and not to willful neglect, if you could explain that.
Well, failures, first of all, the failure, if you believe you are in good faith, reasonable cause, then you have a 30-day period to correct the problem. So the IRS is not going to unexpectedly submit a bill to you for the last year and say you owe us $36,500 per employee. You're going to have a 30-day period to correct the problem. Second, the overall limit for unintentional failures. In the case of failures which are due to reasonable cause and not to willful neglect, and this is Section 3A1I, there's a limit, and it is 10% of the aggregate amount paid or incurred by the employer during the preceding taxable year for group health plans. So the $100 a day per employee penalty would only be imposed if the employer spent $365,000 per employee for health care the previous year.
Or $500,000.
Or $500,000.
Whichever is lesser.
Whichever is lesser. So this $100 per day per employee penalty that the scaremongers talk about, that's a misconception. Maybe they haven't read this section of the law. It's pretty hard to find. Tom, you had to go all the way to the internet to find it.
Wait, did you just were you looking at the screen when you called it the 3AI? Were you cheating?
Yeah, I was cheating.
All right.
I don't actually know it in my head. Yeah, you had to go all the way to the internet to find out this information.
I Googled it, up there, Section 2711 ACA. The other question is, how would our plan, and I'm going to pull up your plan document here. If you set your medical expense plan up with no limits, you're in compliance anyway, so that doesn't even come into play, does it?
Right. If you don't have a limit on the benefit that you will pay to reimburse the employee for health insurance, then you do not violate the no annual limit provision of Obamacare.
And it doesn't matter if your plan's primary or secondary. It's all how the reinsurance you buy is filed with the state.
Right. What's going to happen is you're going to integrate with that underlying insurance. And if you have an underlying group insurance plan, there's no problem at all. You can still buy individual insurance. Again, it goes back to the whole idea of no double dipping. So if you want employees to be able to buy subsidized insurance on the exchange, you don't set up a 105 plan to pay for those premiums. You simply you simply increase their salary. They have the choice to use that money from their salary for whatever they want. You help them find affordable health insurance, and they buy the insurance on the exchange with the subsidy. Most employees, depending on their income, will actually benefit more from the subsidy than they do from the tax break.
Correct. And also, since they're using our solution, we the deductibles and all that are still tax-free. The benefits, it's just the premium we're talking. And then secondly, since we charge a fee to manage it and a consulting fee, they could segregate that and make the employees pay that, and they could run that through a premium-only plan, so it's still tax-free.
Which most employers aren't even going to want to do anyway. The employers are used to paying some amount for insurance. The most economical strategy that keeps employees at the same level is for the employee to buy bronze level coverage on the exchange. That gives them their real health insurance. Then the employer sets up a Section 105 wraparound plan to cover the difference, to cover what the bronze plan doesn't cover. That's the most economical way to finance the benefit. The problem is that the group health insurance industry, in the form of group health companies and group health agents, are running around saying that that's illegal and you pay $100 per day per employee penalty. Well, the fact is, A, it's not illegal, and B, that $100 per day per employee penalty is a myth. It simply is. It's like the Loch Ness Monster. A lot of people say they see it.
Hey, I believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Come on.
And you're welcome to believe in the Loch Ness Monster the same way you're welcome to believe in the $100 a day penalty, but it simply is not true.
They're kind of like Greek gods, if you would. Yeah.
Back when Washington came out with the HIPAA law, there were scared people talking about violations punishable at $10,000 per violation. I'm not aware that anyone has ever paid a $10,000 penalty. We've got almost 40 people on this call, and I'll bet not one person on this call knows one example of a healthcare provider who has actually been penalized that scary $10,000.
Okay.
The $100 per day per employee is going to be the same thing. And I will say, as long as you are acting in good faith, you're going to protect yourself from a willful violation. As long as you're not double dipping, I think you're going to be safe and be found to be acting in good faith. This is kind of a Wild West frontier. The guidance letters and the law contradict each other. The proposed legislation aims to solve some of the problems. What it's going to come down to is, hey, there was a lot of confusion going on. Were you acting in good faith? If you were double dipping, that's not acting in good faith. That's being greedy. You know what they say on Wall Street: bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. Don't be a piggy. Don't be a piggy.
Okay, so let's take a couple of questions here. I know our time is limited. You have to get back, and I have something to do. So let's answer a couple. Tom?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. My app crashed, so I apologize. I'm asking something that you've already covered. Two, actually. Public school educated, I don't quite get the penalty that Ed went over in terms of, if the previous year you're going to pay up to $500,000. Versus the myth of the $100 a day. Second question is where my app crashed and I had to join back in. I heard you say the most economical way to do it. I did not actually hear what that was. So if you could go over the premium payment versus the 105 wrap, that'd be great again.
Well, you are from Massachusetts, aren't you?
I am.
All right.
People's Republic.
I know plenty of intelligent people who are educated in public schools, so I'm not going to hold that against you. The $100 per day penalty, it's an excise tax that an employer pays for offering a non-compliant plan. That's as simple as it is. So if an employer offers a plan that violates the no annual limit provision, for example, they will be assessed an excise tax, and that excise tax is up to $100 per day per employee. That's the language of Section 2711 that, Tom, you showed about 10 minutes ago. Here's the misconception. The misconception is there are people out there in the marketplace who have a vested interest in the status quo, who want to continue the way things were before the Obamacare comet hit the earth, who are telling employers who are looking for a more economical way to finance benefits than traditional group health insurance, that if you do this, specifically if you use the ClaimLinx strategy, you'll end up paying this penalty. Well, again, it's simply not true. There are limits to the penalty. You'll have 30 days after being notified that to cure the problem, and the penalty is limited to 10% of what you paid for health care. An employer's penalty is limited to 10% of what they paid for health care, or $500,000. There are a lot of employers who are looking at the employer mandate for those over 100 in 2000.
Whichever's lesser, yeah.
Yeah, whichever's lesser. There are a lot of it. We know that there's this $2,000 per employee penalty for employers who don't offer insurance, employers with more than 100 employees this year, employers with more than 50 next year. A lot of employers are looking at that $2,000 contribution and just saying, you know what, that paying that is still less expensive than paying for full health insurance coverage. We'll simply accept that as a cost of doing business. And I suspect there will be employers who look at this up to $100 per day penalty and accept that as a cost of doing business, but it is a misconception. The people who have a vested interest in the status quo would have you believe that you're going to be bankrupted by this penalty. Simply not going to happen, and it's intellectually dishonest.
Plus, they would have to be audited, and their plan would have to be deemed not acceptable. And as we can see here, all it says is a group health plan and a health insurance issuer offering group or individual health insurance may not establish lifetime limits. So if you have a group health plan, which is a 105, that meets the requirements, how would you have any trouble?
Right.
All right, we have one more question here, Johnny. Mr. Burgess?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just more excited about this more than ever. It's a similar webinar we had with a CPA this morning on a case. But I'm just making sure I have my math right. Let's say there's a 50-life case, and their premium is an average of $1,000 a month. The families might be $1,500, the individual might be $500, but an average of $1,000 a month.
Right.
Times 50 employees, that's $50,000 a month, say.
$600,000 a year.
$600,000 a year. But if it's a 50-50 split, it's only $300,000, and the most the employer would pay would be at 10%. This is worst case scenario, without the good faith, without the 30 days. Even at that, it would be a $30,000 fine. Am I doing the math right?
$60,000
excise tax. Yeah, that's the amount that that the employer pays on the health care.
Yeah.
Because it's 50-50, he would only pay the excise on the employer's contribution of it, right?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. So I mean, if they're saving, $20,000 a month, that's still third-grade math all day long.
Keep in mind, that's if they get audited and they deem that what they're doing is not in compliance, and we're wondering how this could not be in compliance considering our group plan isn't just doing premiums, we're doing everything with no limits.
Right, and the intent, the good faith, the 30 days, will never even happen anyways, not to mention they never get audited on their benefits to start with, so I feel great about this, better than ever.
Yeah, one of the things that I would not tell an employer, because I wouldn't want an employer to rely on it, is that the IRS budget is actually getting cut every year. The odds of the IRS, for us, and I'm perfectly happy to say this on a webinar that's being recorded, the odds of the IRS actually auditing an employer and reaching this point are somewhere between negligible and nil. simply due to the IRS's budget. I would not want to tell an employer, play audit roulette, you're probably not going to lose. That's not the ethical thing to do. But realistically for us, for our own comfort level, you're going to have years of savings before the IRS ever steps in to even audit an employer in the first place, as long as we are not double dipping, as long as we can make a case for good faith. And worst comes to worst, we got 30 days for our client to correct the problem, and even then, if the client wants to be a scofflaw, the worst they're looking at is that $30,000 penalty. But you've got a very powerful industry, the group health insurance industry, who would rather see you stick with their product than try something new, something innovative, and something proactive.
Well, let's back up. You do not have, in some cases, group health insurance may still be their best alternative to this law, especially for some. And there is no question you can do that. The other thing, Ed, is most of our employees who are doing subsidies, they're paying for the whole portion anyways, because it's, they're paying $600 currently, and they go down to $200. Right. So the employer's not paying a dime anyways. So the guidance doesn't even pertain to them, do they?
It wouldn't pertain to them if they're not paying for it, especially if an employer has decided that they're going to raise the employees' salaries so that the employees can use after-tax dollars to buy subsidized insurance on the exchange. That dollar that the employer pays to the employee doesn't even go into the equation. It doesn't even go into the $1,000 per month per employee that John was talking about a few minutes ago.
Right.
10% of zero is, last time I checked, zero.
Well, there's some funky math going on out there and some serious misconceptions that not only our clients are getting from agents, but people across the country, and it's a simple math problem.
It's a simple understanding of what the IRS intended to accomplish with the guidance in the first place. So when your prospective client, the employer, says, I'm scared to try this strategy because my group health agent told me it's illegal and the IRS issued a guidance letter and 105 is dead and I don't want to pay this $100 per day per employee penalty, I'm not willing to risk it. That's what you're looking at in the marketplace, and the answer to that is, you know what, I understand you're nervous. This is new. One of the first, basic sales training, one of the first things they tell you when the prospect gives you an objection, you acknowledge the objection. They really are worried. They really don't know any better because all they know is what their group health insurance agent has told them. So you say, I understand you're worried. Let me tell you what's going on here. We have Obamacare. It gives a second way to save money on health care, but the IRS doesn't want people double dipping. So your group health agent told you that 105 is dead? No, absolutely not. The 2013 54 notice does not kill Section 105. It says you can't double dip. You can't use pre-tax dollars in a 105 plan to buy subsidized insurance on the exchange. Second point, you're worried about this $100 per day per employee penalty. What your group health insurance agent did not tell you is, A, you've got 30 days to correct the problem, and B, it is capped at 10% of what the employer paid for health care or $500,000, whichever is less. Now that you have more information, do you see that this strategy is perfectly legal and, in fact, in your best interest because it puts you at the forefront? Congress would not have passed Obamacare. Congress would not have mandated creating state exchanges or joining the federal exchange. Congress would not have made subsidies available if they didn't want you to try them. You may hate Obamacare politically, and I understand.
All right. One last question here, Ed.
I'm sorry. I'm all worked up here because
we gotta calm you down, man. You're in Arizona. You're supposed to be happy. All right, Bob.
Supposed to be happy. All right, Bob. Yes, I had a question. I am strategy with Tom, and I have saved a tremendous amount of money. Thank you. My question has to do with the subsidies. My employees pay some of their premiums. I pay some of their premiums. My question is, are those subsidies taxable? And do they have to be listed on the employee's W-2?
Good question. Ed?
Absolutely.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I could. The subsidies that the employee receives, those are actually tax credits. So they are advanced refundable tax credits. They are not considered taxable income. They do not have to be reported on the employee's W-2. They will be reported on the Form 1095-B that the insurance company issues at the end of the year. But the subsidies themselves, they're there for the employees to be able to afford better quality health care. The subsidies are not taxable income.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And,
all right.
Good for you for taking advantage of the strategy. The government, a lot of people really dislike Obamacare. They think that it's socialism. They think it's the end of the world. They think it's the worst thing that ever happened. It's not. It's not even socialism. It's requiring people to buy a private insurance company from a for-profit company. That's not socialism. The government passed this law for employees to take advantage of. Please don't let the group health industry scare you or intimidate you out of taking advantage of a law that was passed for your benefit.
And with that, I think we are beating a dead horse. I appreciate, Ed, you coming on. I know you're busy. And I appreciate everyone for attending this. If anyone has any further questions, by all means, you can email me, tquigley, Q-U-I-G-L-E-Y, at ClaimLinx, ClaimLinx.com. And for those that may want to seriously consider, especially our accountants, is on hopping on to Ed's site. How much is your monthly fee to be a member of Tax Coach right now? Is it $99?
$89 a month for the basic service. If you are in the business of helping your clients save money on taxes, whether you're doing it as a benefit specialist, as a financial planner, or as an accountant, take a look. This is a collection of great tools to help you save your clients a boatload of money and make yourself a hero.
Yes, and I would, the health insurance is just one component. It's the biggest headache that everyone's dealing with, but Ed has phenomenal ideas. You're talking to a guy who writes his hot tub off because of a torn deltoid muscle, and I've never been audited for that.
And you won't be.
And I have another friend, actually your partner, he has a employee swimming pool that is a write-off. These are all legit. Yeah. We won't get too much, but anyways, these are the kind of ideas and everyone should take advantage of. And if your accountant or yourself is not doing this, they should seriously consider joining Ed's ideas. So thank you, everyone, and thank you very much, Ed.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.